Hello everyone. This story is about, what if Naruto and Temari had a political marriage after the failed Suna invasion? Desperate to keep their alliance with Konoha, the Suna council decides to offer Temari's hand in marriage to none other than Naruto, after realizing who he is. Hope you enjoy the story, and as always, please like, share and subscribe for more. Now let's start. Temari sat at the tea shop nibbling on some rice crackers and savoring the feeling of being off her feet. She liked shopping, there was a certain thrill to find a good bargain, but Ino took things a bit overboard. Well, less overboard and more over the top really. After the third shop Ino dragged them through, Temari had begged off, citing tired legs, and left her husband to the mercy of the shopaholic. Temari watched with a faint grin as Ino dragged a complaining Naruto into yet another clothes store by the ear. It was a ruthless and mercenary move, but better him than her. Besides, her feet and back hurt, and that was technically Naruto's fault. Her eyes narrowed as she watched the reactions of the people in the marketplace to her husband's presence. While a great deal of the younger civilians seemed not to have a problem, there was still a great deal of dislike and outright hatred from some of the older generations. It hadn't kept some of them from approaching her with marriage offers for their daughters. Apparently being linked to the yondaime through marriage trumped their hatred for his son. Adding to the oddity of things were those that hated her for being from Suna and for marrying the son of the yondaime. She really didn't understand how Naruto hadn't succumbed to despair when he was younger. It was hard enough to deal with as an adult. "Ano, may I sit with you?" Temari heard. Looking up, she noted Hinata standing nervously next to the chair across from her. She mentally sighed, she had a feeling she knew what this was about and she really didn't want to deal with it. Still, Hinata was a very pleasant girl and was also the heiress of a powerful clan. Being rude and telling her no just wasn't in the cards. "Sure," she said with a nod. "I'm just taking a break from shopping, but you are welcome to join me if you wish." Hinata sat with a small frown. From her earlier dealing with the woman, Temari was usually very blunt. If she was being polite, it wasn't a very good sign. She fidgeted a bit, not wanting to press Temari, but she'd already taken the seat and it would be rude to just leave. Perhaps a neutral subject would break the ice? "Ano, it's very nice weather we're having, Temari-san," she said quietly. Temari snorted, then began to chuckle. "That it is, Hinata-san, that it is. I would prefer if you called me just Temari, I'm not really into being all formal. Besides, you've been a guest in my home, I'd like to think we're friends." "Oh, well please call me Hinata then," Hinata said shyly. "I didn't want to assume." A more relaxed silence settled over the two for a few moments. "Ano, Temari. Did you and Naruto-kun make up? Both of you seem far more cheerful today." Temari gave Hinata a knowing smile that made Hinata blush. "Yeah," she said with a smirk. "You could say we made up all right." That's good," Hinata stammered at the implications. "I was really worried when you got back from Suna and weren't talking. Naruto-kun seemed really down." "That was mostly my fault," Temari sighed. "Things happened and I didn't take it well. I suppose I don't really blame him for not wanting to talk to me, but at least it's in the past and I think both of us learned from it." Hinata sat back and digested that, then began poking her fingers together and refusing to meet Temari's eye. "Ano, Temari," she managed to force out. "I heard that the Uzumaki clan had tradition of multiple marriages. Do you think that at some point you might consider others?" Temari closed her eyes and mentally collected a bet from herself. "It is true that the Uzumaki clan has had that tradition," she hedged. "At this time, we are not interested in reviving that tradition though." Hinata continued refusing to meet Temari's eyes. "Ano, is there any chance that you might change your mind?" Temari reached across the table and gently tilted Hinata's face up with a finger under her chin. "I won't say that I would never consider it," she said, looking Hinata directly in the eyes. "There may be a chance at some point that it would prove advantageous, but at present, I am not willing to share." "Oh, I see," Hinata said downcast. "I know you like him," Temari said gently. "Still, from what I know of the politics here in Konoha, you would never be able to have him even if he hadn't been made to marry me." Hinata pushed Temari's hand away softly and looked at the table sadly. "I know that," she said sadly. "Still a girl can dream, can't she? I've watched him for a long time and he gave me hope for the future. When he cheered me on at the Chunin exams against Niji, it was like a dream come true. The boy I liked noticed me, and if that could happen, maybe other things could as well." Temari grabbed Hinata's hand and held it. I think you've got something wrong, she said. Naruto has many admirable qualities that most are just beginning to see, but he can't give you anything you didn't already have. She paused to find the right words. He can be inspiring and following his example can help you call out qualities you didn't know you had, but in the end, it's not him, it's you. Hinata shifted uncomfortably but took comfort from the hand Temari was holding. It really wasn't fair, she said sadly. You swooped in out of nowhere and claimed the boy I liked, and to make it worse, he's happy. I'd really hoped that somehow it would work out. Temari smiled sadly at Hinata. I'm sorry, but that road is closed to you now. Still, it's not the end. I don't have a problem with you being friends with him. Hinata looked up at Temari with hope in her eyes. Really? Even knowing that I love him, you would let me still be his friend? Temari rolled her eyes in irritation. Yes, really. If I stopped girls from being his friend just because they like him, I think that would leave him with just 10-10 as a friend. When Hinata's eyes shifted to where Naruto was still being dragged by Ino, Temari snorted. Yes, I am aware of it. I haven't talked to her about it because she hasn't overstepped her bounds, and my husband is as usual totally clueless to how she feels. Temari shrugged and gave Hinata a sly smile. Besides, sometimes it's fun to sick her on him, it's good for him. Hinata smiled back timidly. Sometimes Temari scared her a bit. Ano, what about Sakura-san? Temari scowled at her crackers. That is a completely different issue, unfortunately. Dealing with her is sort of like sticking my hand into a scorpion's nest. In the near future, it seems she will be joining the Uzumaki clan though. Hinata's eyes bulged out in shock. You're letting her marry him? She blurted. Temari shot Hinata a confused look and replayed the conversation in her head. Oh, no, she said firmly. No, Pinky is not marrying us, she'll just be adopted into the clan. Hinata breathed a sigh of relief and sank back in her chair, limply. I'm not sure I could handle if she did, she admitted. You scared me there. You and me both, Temari muttered under her breath. Looking over at the shops, she saw distinctive black hair headed for Naruto. Oh, this might be trouble, she told Hinata. Hinata looked up and saw Sasuke headed for Naruto, and frowned. Should we do something? Temari scowled out at the Uchiha. No, sometimes it's necessary to stay out of the boys' way. I just hope they don't try to kill each other again. Market's a bit crowed for Sasuke to have his guts splattered on the ground. Well said, sand bitch. A voice called before the speaker dropped into an open chair at the table. Though I suspect it would be your husband that ended up dead and not my fiancé. Looking up into Kuratsuchi's distinctive pupilless pink eyes, Temari scowled. I doubt it, rock whore, she retorted. Last time they fought, yours was crippled and mine is far stronger now than he was then. Now, did you need something, or was there another reason for your presence? Kuratsuchi scoffed. No, I saw you and little Miss Timid here and thought that us girls should chat while the boys do. Or is my presence uncomfortable for you, sand slut? Temari gritted her teeth in rage and clenched her hands under the table to hide it from Kuratsuchi. Not at all, earthworm, she said with a sweet smile. Hinata-chan and I were just discussing how likely it was that Naruto could repeat what his father did against IWA. It was my husband and my brother that killed your most powerful Jinchuriki when he was stupid enough to attack. Personally, I think it's pretty high odds he can do it. All that rock in their heads means IWA shinobi don't tend to learn well. If he lives, that long-winded whore, Kuratsuchi snarled, standing from her chair in rage. All I wanted was a pleasant conversation, but since I obviously won't find it here, I'm leaving. Putting action to her words. She stormed stiff-backed from the tea shop, with Temari's gaze arrowing into her spine. Once she was gone, Hinata breathed a sigh of relief, but noted Temari still looked pissed as hell. Oh no, that could have gone better, I think. Temari didn't respond for a moment, obviously trying to bleed off some of her anger. Taking a deep calming breath, she turned back to Hinata. If she wanted a civil conversation, she pointed out mildly, she wouldn't have started it with an insult. No, she was trying to provoke me, but the question is, why? Suna and IWA have a long-standing hatred of each other, but I'm a Konoha kunoichi now. That felt personal for some reason. Hinata considered it for a moment. Jealously maybe, she offered. I know that IWA initially offered her to Naruto-kun, but you refused outright in the council. Maybe, Temari conceded. Still, that felt off. I think it would be best to remain cautious of her. I don't just mean for me, I mean for all of our friends as well. Okay, Hinata said before being interrupted by a fuming Ino plopping down in the chair recently vacated by Kuratsuchi. Ah, that sucks, Ino complained loudly. Sasuke showed up and Naruto ditched on me, leaving a clone behind. Temari raised her eyebrow at that. Any idea where they went? Ino pouted. No, they just took off. Naruto tried to be sneaky about it, he left a clone behind but I knew it wasn't him so I popped it. Temari snorted. You could have made a mistake, she pointed out. When we got back from Suna, I thought he was a clone and I ended up breaking his nose. Ino chuckled at that. Yeah, the look on your face was pretty good but I knew it was a clone. For some reason, I can tell him apart from his clones. How? Temari asked baffled. Ino shrugged. I don't know, I can just tell I guess. Ano, Ino-san, Hinata spoke up. If you close your eyes and focus on that, could you point out what direction he is in? Ino looked at Hinata curiously then shot a glance at Temari, who just shrugged. Deciding to humor the other girl, Ino closed her eyes and concentrated. Now that she was actually thinking about it, she could detect something odd and she raised her hand to point in the direction without opening her eyes. It's really odd, but I think I feel something that way. Temari and Hinata followed the direction of Ino's finger and saw it was pointed in the general direction of the Namikaze estate. Trading glances, they looked back at Ino as the blonde finally opened her eyes. Hi, she said cautiously. Why are you two looking at me like that? Temari sighed and plopped her chin down on her hand as she continued to observe Ino. I think there was another component to when you got stuck in his head, she said tiredly. You pointed directly back to our home, with your eyes closed. Well, that's kinda disturbing, Ino said quietly after she digested the information. Still, at least I'm not still spouting off Naruto's verbal tick anymore, that was embarrassing. I don't know, Temari said with a sly grin. It was sort of cute and I bet if we get you excited enough, you'll say it again, right Hinata? Hinata regarded the second girl who had formed some sort of bond with Naruto that she couldn't have before mirroring Temari's smile. I think it would be fun Temari, she said cheerfully. Ino looked at both of them in horror. Oh, you two just suck, she said sliding away from them in her chair. If you do, I won't forgive you, Dadaboyo. Clapping both hands over her mouth at the unintended slip, Ino pouted. Really, you guys suck. Kuratsuchi fumed as she stalked her way back to the Uchiha district, her obvious bad mood causing people to scatter out of her way. She hadn't intended to start a fight with the sand bitch, but a lifetime's disdain for Suna and Konoha Nin was hard to overcome. She clenched her fists and mentally raged at how fucked up her mission was. Befriend the Namikaze heir, if possible seduce him. Failing that, eliminate him. It had seemed simple at the time, but no one in IWA had known the damn Suna whore would already be knocked up and would also have a close relationship with her husband. She snorted in irritation. If someone had told her a representative of a village that had just attacked would fit in almost seamlessly, she wouldn't have believed it. It didn't change the fact that it had actually happened though. Every path to her mission ran through Temari, and that was an unpleasant prospect. While she didn't seem to regulate who he could be friends with, there wasn't a chance in hell Temari would allow her to be one. Seducing him was a joke. Even casual listening around town had told her the boy was devoted to his wife. Being a Jinchuriki, drugging him as a seduction tactic, was out as well. As for assassinating him, Kuratsuchi didn't think her grandfather had really thought that one out. First, she'd have to get an instantly lethal hit or face a pissed-off Jinchuriki. Then, even if she did do that, she'd have to deal with Temari, and while she was confident that she could, even or maybe especially pregnant, Temari would go down fighting. Escaping alive under those circumstances seemed unlikely. Additionally, from what she could tell, doing so would essentially be a declaration of war against both Suna and Konoha. A revenge-driven war, with both Suna and Konoha, would not end well for IWA. Frankly, she was about ready to give up on this mission, though the thought of trying to explain her failure to her grandfather was unpleasant in the extreme. Perhaps she would have an opening after Temari delivered the Namikaze heirs. Even if she didn't, perhaps acquiring one of those would appease her grandfather. It was worth at least laying out some plans. Naruto led Sasuke into his study and accepted a folder from a clone already present. Moving behind his desk and activating the privacy seals, he reviewed the clone's memories as he waved Sasuke to sit down. Dobe, Sasuke growled. I followed you because you said that we shouldn't talk about that man in public, but you aren't saying anything. Speak or I am leaving. Naruto tapped the folder on the desk and regarded Sasuke carefully. Well, I'm not sure how to do this, he admitted. You have a tendency to fly off the handle when Itachi is mentioned, and I do have information you want. Still, perhaps a little background would help. Dobe. Chill team, I promise that this is important and you know how seriously I take my promises. Naruto paused and got a grudging nod from Sasuke. Alright, so what do you remember about your clan's relations in the village when you were growing up? Sasuke momentarily looked bewildered but quickly replaced it with a scowl. I don't see how this matters, but since you promised. I don't really know, he admitted. I know we were the strongest clan and that we ran the police force, but I didn't really pay attention, I was only a child. I see, Naruto replied quietly. I don't have the full story, but after the Kyuubi attack, there was a great deal of suspicion regarding the Uchiha. Sasuke snorted in disbelief. Oh please, why would they suspect us? Naruto opened the folder and handed over the first packet. Eyewitnesses claimed the Kyuubi was acting odd, as if controlled. There was only one man that ever controlled the Kyuubi that we know of, and he was an Uchiha. Madara Uchiha, to be exact. Once again, I don't know what happened, but it was after the Kyuubi attack that the Uchiha walled their compound. I remember seeing the walls go up when we were maybe 4 or so. That's right, Sasuke said in a puzzled tone. I asked my father about them and he said that they were for the clan's protection. So what does this have to do with anything? Well, as I said, I don't have proof, Naruto said. But I'm sure that Itachi didn't go crazy and kill your clan on a whim. Handing over the second packet from the folder, Naruto pointed at it. According to this, there were 2 attackers that night and Itachi only killed active duty, shinobi, and kunoichi. The rest were the work of that second attacker. What's even more disturbing is that most of the shinobi and kunoichi were missing their eyes. Still, disturbing as that is, it does give me an idea of who was behind it. The stress of having his world's foundation shaken involuntarily activated Sasuke's Sharingan as he read, permanently burning it into his memory. Looking up at Naruto with murder in his eyes, he managed a semi-human growl of hatred. Who? Pulling out his father's journal, he flipped through it until he found the notes his father had made about Root. Handing it over, he glared at Sasuke. You will treat this book with the utmost respect, Sasuke, or I will tear that crippled arm off and feed it to you. Is that perfectly clear? Sasuke gulped at the malicious intent behind the words and just nodded. The question of why Naruto had threatened him became clear once he understood that this was his father's journal. He would probably have the same reaction to anyone handling his clan's scrolls. Still, it irked him greatly that Naruto could make a threat like that and also make it stick. As he continued to read with a sinking feeling in his stomach, Naruto began to talk. So, we have an extremely militant elder, one willing to take things into his own hands, and he has his own little corps of ninja. I remember Sandaime very well, and exterminating a clan isn't something he would do. That leaves Danzo, and maybe the other 2 elders, but probably just him. Sasuke snarled and handed the journal back to Naruto. They will pay. He growled, slapping a hand against his neck where his curse seal began to burn in time to his fury. Naruto sighed. Sasuke, are you that stupid? Do you want to be a slave? Sasuke blinked at the odd response and his anger cleared, slightly relieving the pressure from the seal. What? He asked, confused. I've talked with Erosenin about that seal, Naruto said, pointing at Sasuke's neck. According to him, that thing leeches off you and draws power from violent emotions from its host. When activated, it begins to subvert the will of the host and make them obedient to the one that applied it, in this case, Hebe team. So, I ask again, do you want to be a slave? Sasuke scowled at Naruto in irritation. No, of course I don't want to be a slave, but I do want vengeance. Besides, what does that have to do with why we're here anyway? Naruto nodded at that and proceeded to give Sasuke the unfiltered version of Itachi's visit. So, his reporting to Jiraiya is what caused me to question the events of that night, he said, finishing up. This morning, while I was waiting for Temari-chan to wake up, I sent some clones to gather the reports you just read, cause I knew you wouldn't be able to stay away. Sasuke grunted and steepled his fingers in front of his face as he brooded over his new knowledge. How did you get the reports? He finally asked. These had to have been highly classified, and I know you don't have clearance, Dobe. Naruto frowned at the old insulting nickname but relented as he remembered calling Sasuke team first. That is the beauty of Kage Bunshin, he said with a carefree grin that didn't reach his eyes. Popping off a clone, it hinged into a perfect replica of Tsunade. I can be anyone, anywhere. Useful that, Sasuke murmured looking at the clone as it dispelled. Looking back at Naruto, he cocked his head to the side and regarded him with open curiosity. I do have to wonder why you're willing to share this with me, he said gesturing at the reports. I was under the impression that you hated me now. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck and refused to meet Sasuke's eyes. I thought I did, he admitted quietly. Itachi called me on it though, and I realized that while I was really pissed at you, I don't hate you. What you did to Sakura-chan was extremely cruel, and I'm having a hard time forgiving you for that. The rest of it was just our rivalry gone bad and that curse Hiki of yours acting up. Sasuke stiffened in irritation. It is not a Hiki, he retorted in frustration. As for Sakura, you're married now dobe, stop pinning after the weak fangirl. Sakura-chan is not weak. Naruto responded hotly. Yes, she was a fangirl and yes, she should have taken her training more seriously, but she has serious potential as a kunoichi. Sasuke scoffed. Yeah right. She is weak, will always be weak. When has she been anything other than a load on our backs? Naruto sighed and massaged the bridle of his nose tiredly. Team, you never got hit by her. The only person that hits harder is freaking Bachan. If Kakashi-sensei hadn't been such a crappy teacher, all three of us would have been much stronger. As for her not being the load, forest of death, when both of us were unconscious and she fought all three of those sound mean by herself. A fight she didn't win, Sasuke pointed out. But she still did it, Naruto countered. I'm sick of fighting about this. HNN, agreed, Sasuke said. So, you are angry with me but don't hate me, still doesn't answer why help me and why I shouldn't hate you for crippling me. Naruto gave him an exasperated look. Team, you tried to kill me, of course I used something dangerous to counter. You're lucky I stepped down that clone's explosion, or you would be dead now. As for why help you, I think that you do deserve vengeance for the death of your clan, but focusing on Itachi won't fully complete it. Now you know there are others involved and they are closer to home, so what will you do? Sasuke gave Naruto a look of disbelief. What will I do? He repeated blankly. I will avenge my clan. Naruto gave Sasuke a very direct look, his eyes cold and hard. I understand, but if you make a move on anyone other than the elders, then I will end you permanently. If you want some free advice, do not act rashly, those three did not survive to the age they did without being highly skilled. Additionally, if you hold to that agreement, when the time comes and you chose to kill Itachi, I will help you. Sasuke glared at Naruto and stood up jerkily. I don't need your help dobe, he snarled. I also don't need your threats or your advice. Rising from his chair, Naruto glared back. Fine, be that way team, but I stand by my promise. Move against anyone other than the elders and your clan ends. Sasuke stalked upstairs and stormed past the returning kunoichi, causing a mild panic attack in Sakura when she saw him. Giving a grudging nod to Temari, the only non-useless female in the room, Sasuke exited the house, slamming the door behind him on the way out. Disturbed by the sudden exit of the Uchiha, Temari carefully made her way downstairs to check on her husband. Finding him sitting at his desk staring at a bottle of sake, she noted he seemed much older and tired than normal. Naruto, she said softly so as not to surprise him. Are you all right? What happened? Naruto gave a bitter laugh and downed a cup of sake quickly before putting the bottle away. I just turned someone who used to be a friend into a weapon against our enemies, he said bitterly. Oh? Temari responded, moving around the desk to rest her hands on his shoulders in support. Yeah, Naruto said. I didn't lie to him, but I did slant the truth so that he would see things a certain way. With what's coming, I simply can't afford to leave Danzo unchecked, and directing Sasuke at him seemed like the best option as a distraction. Doesn't seem like something you would normally do, Temari said. Still, from what you've told me, that old man is dangerous and the Uchiha is most certainly not a friend. That's just it, Naruto said sadly. I'm not so sure I don't still somewhat see him as a friend. He almost died for me once, and before he got that damn seal, our team was starting to come together. I just wish that hadn't happened, that's all. Temari responded. Personally, I'm rather happy with the ways things are, but I suppose I can see your point. Thanks Temari-chan, Naruto said with a wan grin, reaching up to pat one of the hands on his shoulders. I'm happy about things too, but I suppose I'm a bit selfish and wished things were even better, you know? Temari chuckled and leaned down to kiss him affectionately. I think that's pretty normal really, she chuckled. I figured I'd come check on you and warn you that it's a kunoichi night again. You can come up and join, but if you do, you will be targeted mercilessly, so I would advise against it. Naruto paled. Hee, yeah, no, he said flatly. I think I'll just go for a walk or something. Probably go see if I can find any of the foxes, haven't seen any since we got back from Suna. Temari pursed her lips. Will you be alright? The last time you wandered into the woods ended somewhat badly. Naruto gave her a cheeky grin. Oh please, Itachi visited yesterday, what's the worst that could happen? Temari groaned and buried her face in her hands. Don't you have enough problems without tempting fate? Don't say things like that, or with your luck, there will be an invasion or something. Naruto snorted as he stood up and pulled on his jacket. I don't believe in that, he said cheerfully. Besides, I'm going armed. Just be careful, alright? Naruto gave her a grin and a quick peck on the cheek. Of course you know me, he said before darting up the stairs. Temari sighed and considered sending for the Hokage to join the kunoichi night as emergency medical support. Yeah, that's why I worry, she said tiredly before making her way upstairs. Hey, where's Naruto going? Ino called out once she made it back to the kitchen. He ran by here with just a wave, didn't even stop to say bye. Temari took her chair and motioned for Hinata to deal her into the next hand. He decided to go try to find the foxes in the woods, and then he decided to tempt fate by asking me what was the worst that could happen. The kunoichi at the table all grimaced at that, and almost in unison, Tenten, Sakura, Ino, and Hinata all pulled out storage scrolls and set them down near at hand. What are those? Temari asked suspiciously. The girls traded glances before turning back to Temari. Medical supplies, they said in unison. Temari glanced between the girls and the scrolls before sighing and activating a seal on her chair, pulling out a similar scroll. My husband is such a pain in the ass sometimes, she said, laying it down like the others. Moving into the unnaturally silent woods, Naruto felt incredibly uneasy, constantly scanning his surroundings and holding himself defensively. He checked the gardens thoroughly and hadn't found any sign of the kitsune leaving only these woods if they were still on his property. For the life of him, he couldn't figure out why they would have left if they had. He told Reynard that he and Temari would be gone and the foxes had what they needed on the grounds. In the twilight gloom, he stumbled over something on the ground. Slapping a hand down to stabilize himself, he was unnerved to touch something furry and sticky. Pulling his hand back to his face, he caught the metallic scent of blood. Dropping down on one knee, he looked closer at what he tripped over and was unsurprised to find the corpse of a fox. A closer examination showed that the body was badly torn up with burns, but not cut. What the hell happened here? Naruto murmured to himself as he drew his kodachi from the seal on his arm. Checking the ground around the body, he growled lightly in frustration when he couldn't make sense of the tracks on the ground. Taking a step away, he closed his eyes and focused on detecting nearby chakra sources like when he was training with Kakashi. Sensing some nearby, he turned himself towards them, opened his eyes, and headed in that direction. Much more cautious now, Naruto ghosted from tree to tree, keeping a close eye on his surroundings. Closing in on where he thought he'd felt the chakra, he was puzzled to see a group of maybe a dozen foxes standing around a small earth dome he didn't remember being on his property. Stepping out from around the tree, he stowed his kodachi away so he wouldn't scare the foxes. Yo, he said with a little wave, unconsciously copied from Kakashi. The assembled kitsune turned to face him, teeth bared and snarling. Only quick reflexes kept him unroasted as he barely dodged a stream of flame, leaping back into the trees. Aw shit, he muttered under his breath. I'm not gonna tell Temari-chan about that, she'll never let me live it down. In the middle of collecting her winnings, Ino jerked her head up and looked towards the forest. Oh, not again, she groaned. Something wrong, Ino? Temari asked for the group. Ino palmed her face in irritation. Yeah, well sort of. Naruto just walked straight into another fight. Temari grabbed her fan before Ino spoke up to stop her. No, it's not like last time, I think he's got this one, it's just. Well, he disarmed himself then walked straight into an ambush. Temari cursed and thumped her head into the table. Sounds about right, she admitted. So, how do you know all this anyway, Ino? Ino flushed as the others gazed at her speculatively. Shadow clones, she blurted before the interrogation could begin. I thought it would be best to keep an eye on him cause of what happened last time. Temari frowned at the girl. Not a bad idea, but you should have told me. I stress to all of you once again, my husband. Ino pouted and refused to meet Temari's eyes, gazing at the table. I'm sorry, she mumbled. It seemed like a good idea, and I didn't want you getting mad at me. Temari sighed in exasperation. Okay, listen up girls. Ino, Hinata, Sakura. 1010, not sure if this applies to you. I am aware of the feelings you have for my husband and while yes, I do find that concerning, I won't try to stop you from being his friend. 1010 smirked from her end of the table. No worries about me, she told Temari. Naruto's pretty cool and he makes awesome explosions of doom, but I have someone else I like. I think it's cool that you're being understanding though. I'd probably be all bitchy towards girls that liked my man. Sakura began coughing to try to disguise her laughter and refused to meet the glare Temari leveled at her. Trust me 1010, she said dryly once she stopped laughing. Temari has her alpha bitch moments, believe me. Hinata narrowed her eyes at the pink-haired girl and spoke up sweetly. I'm sure you've never done anything to bring that on yourself Sakura-san. I personally found Temari to be quite friendly. Sakura snarled and visibly bit back a response, her hands clenched into fists before she suddenly relaxed them and she smiled back at Hinata just as sweetly. You're right Hinata-chan, since I'm going to become an Uzumaki, Temari, and I have disagreed on how close to Naruto-kun I should be. It's very worrisome, what would happen if I accidentally walked in on him in the bath or he did to me? Hinata's audibly ground together at the reminder that Naruto was going to be adopting Sakura into his clan and her eyes turned murderous when she mentioned walking in on him. 1010 and Ino wisely stayed out of it, though both marveled at how Hinata's sweet smile contrasted with the murder in her eyes. Deciding to step in before the two tried to kill each other, though slightly tempted to allow it, Temari slapped her palm down on the table. And again, my husband. Also, my house, so if the two of you want to have this little pissing match somewhere else? She raised an eyebrow, though she wasn't really expecting a response. Sorry Temari, Sakura said gazing at the table in embarrassment. I am sorry, as well Temari-san, Hinata managed to stammer out when she realized how rude that exchange with Sakura had been. I'm not your mother or your nursemaid, Temari said caustically. I won't try to stop you from feuding, but this house and these grounds are neutral territory. I accept your apology for now, but the next time one of you starts a fight like that, both girls involved get tossed out for a while. Turning to Ino, Temari fixed her gaze on the other blonde. That goes for you too, Ino. Now, what happened with Naruto? Ino shrugged. I don't know, I had a clone trailing him and then there was some fire and that's it. Temari sighed and opened up her scroll of medical supplies onto the table in front of her. Alright girls, who's got burn cream and bandages? Naruto cursed as the foxes followed him up into the trees and moved to surround him. Avoiding another jet of flame by dropping back to the ground, he summoned his Kodachi again and instinctively pivoted. The blade flashing in the moonlight as it sliced through the neck of the fox leaping at his back. Ignoring the way the head leapt from the body and sprayed him, Naruto dove to avoid a blast of wind that mixed with some flame to produce a small firestorm. Rolling back to his feet, he cursed and patted the small fires on his jacket out heedless of the pain in his hand. In the short time it took him to do that, the remaining kitsune had encircled him again and a vicious smile crossed his face as he glared back at them. You picked the wrong guy to try a numbers game on, he snarled before popping out several dozen clones. See how you like being ganged up on. In response to the new threat, the foxes melted back into the forest chased by the clones. Several minutes passed as Naruto absorbed information from dispelled clones. While the clones had managed 2 kills, the foxes were rapidly dispelling the remaining clones. Completely aware of the weaknesses the clones possessed causing Naruto's eyes to widen in horror as he finally fully realized that he was fighting animals that he'd considered friends. Extraordinarily pissed at the betrayal, Naruto formed the full seal for the Kage Bunshin and pushed out enough chakra to create several hundred clones. Looking at the serious faces of his doppelgangers, Naruto issued his orders. Subdue them, alive preferably, dead if you have to. I want to know what the fuck happened while I was in Suna. The assembled clone army saluted and headed out to hunt as Naruto turned back towards where the fight had started. And while they do clean up, let's see what they found so interesting. Approaching the dome carefully, Naruto examined it thoroughly, even going so far as to circle it to ensure he wasn't missing anything. He thought. This is obviously some sort of earth jutsu, but for what? His mind ran across the image of the dead fox he'd first found, and he felt a sudden surge of hope. Obviously some of the foxes hadn't gone crazy, and the most obvious place for them to be was inside the dome. Knocking on the dome, Naruto raised his voice. Reynard, are you in there? It's me, Naruto. It's safe now if you want to open up. In response to his words, a small portal opened in the side of the dome and he saw the familiar snout of Reynard cautiously poke out. Moving back, he shifted over so the old fox could get a look at him. Raising his hand, he slowly extended it for Reynard to sniff. As the fox was confirming his identity, Naruto marveled at how beat up his friend was. You look like hell, he bluntly told the fox. Reynard agreed. I have been holding that dome for 3 days, Naruto-sama. I am quite simply exhausted. Naruto whistled through his teeth at that. No wonder Reynard looked so bad, there was no way he could have slept and to constantly expel chakra the entire time. Even he, the guy with way too much chakra, wouldn't want to do that. You can release the jutsu, he told Reynard. I have several hundred clones out hunting what's left of the ones that attacked me. Reynard gave a heavy sigh as the dome melted back into the ground, revealing most of the kits and their mothers, but very few males. And so we are reduced again, Reynard said sadly. I'm sorry, Naruto said gently. They attacked me, and they attacked you as well. I can't simply let them go. I understand, Naruto-sama, Reynard said sadly. While you were gone, most of the young and stupid males. Even some of the vixens decided that we had recovered enough that they could seek revenge for those lost to the villagers after Kyubi-sama's attack on the village. They claimed that we could never live in peace with humans, that it was our duty to strike back. When the rest of us refused to support them, they turned on us. It seems that even seeking refuge here has cost us more than we can afford. I suppose we'll have to leave so something like this doesn't happen again. No, Naruto said grimly, his face fixed in determination. No, if you do that, Reynard, then you're basically admitting that they were right. It will take time and effort, but we will heal these wounds, between the kitsune and the foxes. You've been a very valuable friend to me and mine since you've arrived, and I would hate to see that thrown away. Reynard sank to the ground exhausted and refused to meet Naruto's eyes. I deceived you, he said quietly. We knew that you carried Kyubi-sama, but I was lying when I said that you were acting as his reagent because he was sealed inside of you. Naruto snorted back a laugh and gently rubbed the fox's head. Please, I knew that. I know that everyone thinks I'm stupid, but I'm not a complete idiot. Reynard looked up incredulously. You knew, and you let us stay? Naruto nodded, his gaze focused on the fox kits snugged up with their mothers. Of course. I know what it's like to be blamed for something you had nothing to do with. I was keeping an eye on you though, and despite lying to me, your intentions were at least honorable. You were just looking out for the other foxes, and you had every reason to be concerned about how a human would react. Your actions since have proven to me that despite the start, you are a true friend, and I would be honored if you and the other kitsune would remain. Reynard butted his head up against Naruto's hand to show his appreciation. Thank you, he said quietly and sincerely. I'm truly grateful that there are still humans like you and Temari-sama. Naruto paled at the mention of his wife and he stared down at his ruined outfit in horror. Oh crap, Temari-chan is so gonna let me have it, he moaned. Reynard snickered but was too tired to move. Vixen can be a comfort, he said sagely. They also cause most of the problems in life, so finding balance is key. Thank you so much for that observation, Naruto snarked back, climbing to his feet. Creating more clones, Naruto spoke to Reynard over his shoulder. Unfortunately, I need to head back, but between these and the clones searching the forest, you should have everything you need. See you tomorrow, Kitsunjiji. Reynard sighed at being called old but felt far too worn out to argue. See you tomorrow, Naruto-sama. Reaching the house, Naruto tried to tidy up his outfit as much as possible, but the foxes had done a number on it before he'd gotten serious and trying to hide the burns wasn't going to work very well. Bracing him for a tongue lashing, Naruto entered the house and was not surprised to find Temari waiting for him. What did surprise him is that she didn't seem angry or even annoyed. Temari eyed her rather battered husband and rather than berate him as he was probably expecting, she simply stood and linked her arm with his gently. Come on Naruto, let's get you cleaned up and healed alright? Really? Naruto asked in disbelief. I was really expecting an I told you so, at the least. Temari smirked at him. I can still do that if that is what you want, she reminded him. Naruto paled a bit at that. No thanks, I'm good, he blurted out ignoring Temari's cat-like smile. Entering the kitchen area, Naruto froze when he saw Ino, Tenten, Hinata, and Sakura all standing there with medical supplies in their hands. Wait, he said desperately. I'm not hurt that bad, just a few burns I swear. Temari chuckled in his ear as the girls moved in on him. I think we'll be the judges of that. Besides, we do need to practice our medical skills, you know. Oh, before I forget, Tsunade-sama dropped by, she said to be in her office at 9 tomorrow, and I quote here. Put the files back before I pound you to pulp. Naruto paled at the message and paled further when the girls all snickered at him. As a matter of fact, Sakura chimed in. Hokage-sama was the one that suggested you for us to test our skills on. Damn you, Bachan. This was all for now. Thank you for watching, I hope you liked it and that you will be back for more. Please like, share and subscribe. See ya.